Hi friends, I was just checking that I'm still recording my face there, and things seem to be all good on that front. So anyway, here we are back looking at Tezos. I'm Rocky Outcrop. I hope you're all doing really well out there. A big shout out to all the Rocky Outcropticians in the world. And if you're just new to this channel and joining us for the first time, then I highly encourage you to hit the subscribe button and do all of that stuff. You've seen YouTube before, and I mean it when I say that I really appreciate it. I actually genuinely do. It's basically, and during this unmonetized channel here with, you know, every subscriber counts so much to me, so much. I suspect I'll feel that way forever. Really, every time I see the numbers going up, I just think, wow, and I read all the comments. Anyway, whatever, enough spraffing on about that. Thanks so much for tuning in, and what we're looking at here in terms of prices, well, we never made it above the 236 Fibonacci retracement point here on the Bitcoin pairing, but we're still above that 2,800 level, which is what we were talking about before, which we want to see maintained. You know, looking over to the left here, this is this consolidation phase we spent a wee while in before. We're doing the similar sort of thing on this side, you know, in terms of this being this big sort of rocket ship here. We don't want to, you know, like, were there elements of sort of head and shoulderynesses during this phase here, which you know, has something like this played out somewhat towards or whatever? Have we had enough? Have we had enough pain in this market for that to be satisfied? Not really, but is that even real? Not really either, to be honest with you. Overall, you know, we're just still keeping our eyes out on this 2,800 level, all the way down to sort of 2,600 level, to be fair, really, actually, in terms of being able to remain bullish on this one and looking towards kind of, you know, the overall upward dynamic of this market, and the trend line, I suppose, that you could kind of look towards here as well. Like, anything staying in and of this area is kind of satisfying that to an extent. Stick it on logarithmic, and I'll actually get even more touches just in here, really, and hold on a second. There, maybe you prefer to look at that yourself when you're looking at this thing. So just generally speaking, are we looking at can we you know, maintain this area in the next near future, or are we looking at something that, you know, a bit more scary in terms of the downsides? But these things speak for themselves anyway. And of course, 2,300 to 2,400, sorry, if you break below that, then you know, you could be looking down to various different targets. It's a bit early days to say any of that, and this is just a generally speaking, in the terms of the broad picture here, we're in this sort of consolidation area here of some sort, you know, having had this always upward trend in price action. You know, this is quite good for the coin in general, and I'd like to see that continue with the former trend, so to speak, in that sense. But you know, this concept here that we've got on the go at the minute, we could fill this out again and just come in and have a triple top thing. We could turn it into a cup with handle. We could do all various things could come out in the wash over the next wee while. But we're getting down in terms of the timing of all this and the sort of the general structure of it. I guess maybe we'll get some more answers over the next week or so. Going over to the dollar prices, then we've got this structure here where we drew on the charts yesterday. You know, are we going to stay within this here? And so far we have, and that's very good to see. That's kind of a turnaround potentially for us at the 50% retrace. Sorry, wait a minute. Let's go in that direction. Hold on a second. So I want to draw one in from here up to here, just for this here chat, and say, so you know, we're up here at this 256 area, and we know that this is of importance, and you can see from where the 236 Fibonacci retracement area is, again, just as a general easy way of pointing this out, that's important. That price line, we want to go up above this and validate the Fibonacci, and we don't want to be going back down below the 382. We're operating in between this range at the minute, and you know, that all really just gives you that context you might be looking for. If I draw in body to body in steady to weddy, then you can see the 236 actually pans out to be in pretty much the exact same place when you adjust it like that. So, you know, there you go. That's the importance of that area for us. And then just jumping over to the HIP BTC chart. This isn't the HIP BTC chart. This was us asking about head and shoulders. Oh wow! In fact, let's just since you can see this sort of chat that we had there with that line drawn in and whatever, if you were to like look at that and think, well, you know, is that a measured move? You know, that's interesting enough to do that. So it's always worth paying attention to these things, and that's yeah, it's interesting that panned out evidently in the end. So interesting. Well, you know, obviously that was on the channel here. We're talking about that, so that's good to have seen. Again, here we saw it pan out here or whatever. So that's interesting. So we've had that move now. Could we actually consider that phase of price action to be done? Well, just generally speaking, you know, we knew about this, like obvious evidented by the fact that it's like on the charts there. We've been talking about that 235, 230 area, whatever, 227. We talked about it so often till we're blue in the face. 258 just above us there. Get back above that, then I'm going to start thinking positively about this again. Staying below it, then you know, you got to look towards the 230 area. This is the sort of the questions that you have to bear in mind as a trader and all the rest of it. Coming back above, I don't need that measuring thing on there. That's what we're looking at overall. What have we got on the go in terms of the volume? Just here in HIP BTC, it's diminishing. Checking it out on the other exchanges, sideways, diminishing a bit, whatever. HIP BTC's volume is so much clearer, isn't it, than the other charts? I wonder why that is, if they inflate it themselves or whatever, but it's a lot clearer there. This is kind of diminishing here, and in terms of head and shoulders and whatnot, you know, or whatever, you can, sorry, that's really bad. You can see that volume candle that was there. Could that be considered perhaps to be stopping volume, or is this the reversal of a trend for a medium time frame thing? Overall, what it boils down to is this yellow line, sideways yellow line here, and we can obviously aim to stay in and amongst this wedgie type. You know, we want to get back into this area here, and back into this for this to be a sort of fake out of this ascending broadening effort. I don't care about wedges and the statistics. The statistics of these things, it just lends a bias to stuff. I like looking at this and bearing in mind what the market could be potentially thinking and how it could have a domino effect on top of things, rather than just sort of being myopic about things and looking at that. So this is why we've got this horizontal line here, for instance, this one here and this one here, and those are the important areas. If we can get above the 258 area, we'd be back inside this wedge. So the next area to be looking at would be this low at 265. You know, moving on beyond that, you've got the 270 area, and things could start looking more and more rosy, and we could start asking questions about this $3 chunk up here again in the future. But until such times as we're you know, those areas have resolved themselves, then that is that for now. Looking at these oscillators, there's no divergence screaming at us to say get in on this. You know, it's happened now. Going up to the 2-day, what can we see here in terms of this here as well? No, there's nothing. There's nothing really. I mean, instead you can just do the sort of the standard stuff and look at, say, like, oh, neutral line, and oh, we were oversold and now we're back in this area, or bought or whatever. Can we come back up? Blah, yada yada. I'm not that bothered about it myself in general. Kind of looking towards these other things and asking, and we'll see how things pan out in the meantime with those targets that we already have in mind and everything that we've spoken about over the last ages, because there's more than enough to be going on in general. 12-hour time frame, there's perhaps bullish divergence here. 12-hour time frame, check it all out for yourself, and that let me know in the comments down below what you're thinking about things. I've kind of outlined the sort of the general areas of what we've been looking at over the last wee while, and we've been able to make the best of all these moves anyway. So, you know, I'm kind of sitting pretty at the minute in that sense. Hope you're all doing all very well out there, and I'm keeping my eye out about how it performs in and around this junk. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. I know that things have gone a lot messy there in the charts and whatever else. I really would like to know what all your opinions are on things like that, though. Really would. It would be very interesting to know. Let's look at the weekly chart for zooming out again. You know, like looking at the weekly, we really needed to see some sort of you know, we needed to see it remain above this area here, which it did by the thinnest of margins. We want to see it coming back up towards that $3 area by you know, and going above it. And just to sort of, just to kind of put this maybe in the context in terms of like what can happen in the world of trading and whatever, and that as well as like, look at Link here straddling this big horrible triangular shape. You know, it's big and horrible. It's not actually, it's totally fine. This is just like something from the normal world of trading where it's gone over for quite a while, you know, a couple of months and whatever. That's all good. You know, we're consolidating in that area. Overall, I'd rather see things trending in general for this and have a cup and handle here and go towards the top side in terms of the dollar prices, you know, for this to be a descending broadening wedge and get continuation off the back of this pattern. And in terms of the moving averages, you know, to stay above them and to not have, you know, to continue to trend towards the top side. And in terms of the this medium term trend line, for that to be continued as well, you know, we're still in this general area, you know, like looking at this chart, this is all the things that we've been talking about for the longest time, you know, adding them all up together. And then in terms of this, the horizontal lines and whatever else that we're talking about, we've had that head and shoulders play out, yada yada. Anyway, it's more than enough to be going on with. We'd rather see it trending towards the top side and it be and all this going on rather than the alternative. Anyway, catch you later. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's hope that this moving above the neutral line is a sign for good in around this time here, and hopefully we can see things turn around, obviously. And hope that this was just as much as it needed to do off the back of these head and shoulder type areas that we've seen on the RSI and on the price action and yada yada. So let's just hope that that's it done now, but we'll find out in due course. Catch you next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Share it with a friend if you got one that you think would like it and all that sort of stuff. And there's plenty of friendly folk in amongst this Rocky Outcrop community, so of course you're welcome to say hello in the comments down below and join the Discord and all that good stuff. And namaskar. I'll catch you in the next episode.